Alrighty, this is Jordan Reese with Verity Talk. Alrighty, so I am testing new equipment. I just got a camera called the Mavo. No, they're not paying me to advertise, but it's a pretty cool camera if you're just starting a show. You can do a camera that will handle broadcasting from your phone, one pointed at you like this, and then one from the side. You can control it all from your phone. So it's pretty cool. Um, if you're thinking about doing a podcast, the Mevo is pretty good start. But God is blessing us. We're prosperous, the Verity Talk team, and we're gonna get better equipment each time, and the team's gonna grow. It's gonna be cool. So that leads me to say, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, Verity Talk, I suggest you do so. If we get 50 subscribers, we can start going live on there. So that way we can do live and then it records straight on YouTube and do that. Um, if you haven't liked our Facebook page, Verity Talk, you can like that too. The offer still stands on the table that if we get 1,000 likes, we will do the hot chip challenge, me and John, possibly Ryan. Um, and we are on any podcast where we're, oh my glob, wherever you get your podcasts, we will be there. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and the rest. And if it's not where you get your podcast, then let me know so I can get it over there. It's a process, so message me so I can get that done. But this leads me to things Jesus never said. Number one, don't talk about religion in public. It's uncomfortable and rude. Number two, open your eyes and look at the fields. They're ripe for harvest. But if you don't have time, I understand. You're busy. I just thought it was a good idea and all. All right, so we're just going to get into our subject matter. So, like I said on the Facebook page, Verity Talk, um, I think this stories is completely ridiculous in my opinion. And I'm sure you've been keeping up with at least, you don't have to keep up with everything, but pretty sure you have heard the mishandling of classified documents. And it's ridiculous, and I'm going to say why. But before I do, I just want to read the scripture because it kind of relates to it. And it's a scripture talking about living above reproach. Because, and I'm going to explain why I'm saying the scripture. But it's like, I heard people, and like I said, I'm not trying to say that you should, I'm not doing endorsement of Trump or anything. But people, I've heard people talk about Trump and say he is an embarrassment to the office. Everyone, the whole world laughs at him. He brings dishonor to the presidency or the role. And I can see why people would say that about Trump, certain aspects about him. And you could talk about it, and I'll listen. I'll say, okay, that makes sense. Um, and then when Biden came to office, and I'm not condemning. How should I say it? I'm not saying this to say, oh, I hate Biden, I love Trump, or vice versa. I'm just pointing this out to make a point about what I'm going to bring about the Bible. And So then when they said, when Biden got elected, they said, see, now honor is going to be brought to the office. Now, I'm sure people listening have their opinions about, oh, I can have a whole list. And I'm sure on each side, for Trump or for Biden, you can have a list of, oh, this is how he dishonored the office. And I'm going to give you a news flash. No president can bring 100% honor to that role. They're going to slip because they're man. That's why each president that comes into power, or each president that comes into power, whatever party, there's another side saying, keeping them in check and saying, look at what they did. They did this. Now, you can argue what's true and what's not, but that's not the point of why I'm bringing it up. But it says in Titus 1, if any be blameless, the husband of one wife, having faithful children, not accused of riot or unruly. For a bishop must be blameless, as the steward of God, not self-willed, not soon angry, not given to wine, no striker, not given to filthy lucre. So the reason I'm bringing this scripture up is very important, because this scripture is important is because now this should be any Christian, not just, this only applies to pastors. If you're a Christian, you should be blameless too. When in Titus, Paul's not writing this to say, only pastors have this list of qualifications. He's just saying, if you're going to be a pastor, you're going to have these qualifications. But he's not trying to say, if you don't want to be a pastor, you don't have to have these qualifications. No. He's saying, if you want to be, here's what you need to have. But you should have these regardless. And so, like I said, this, even though he's saying bishop, any Christian can do this. Now, the point I want to make is, it says blameless. For a bishop must be blameless. And I believe another, not definition, but another translation says above reproach. So there is a word, and I have it right here. And so, hold on, sorry. There we go. So this word is important because it means innocent. It means not blameworthy. And so this is what every Christian should aspire to. Sorry, I'm going a little slow here. I'm just trying to explain good. So every Christian should be above reproach. Every Christian should be this, not just pastors, but a Christian. So the reason I mentioned the contrast Biden and President Trump, I mentioned this contrast because these, again, people said, they bring dishonor. This person brings dishonor, okay? Now, I'm attacking both sides right now. I try to be down the middle, but for sure there's down the middle. I have no idea how you don't know that you don't have classified documents at your house. And I don't have all the details. I don't know when they found these documents. Were they in a folder named classified? Were they in a box named classified? Was it in a binder that, each president, bought from the store and then put it in? I think former President Trump put it in a closet, the classified documents they found. But so I don't have those details yet. Maybe you do. You can put it in the comments. Or they haven't found out. But how do you not know you don't have classified documents in your house? Everyone, tell me if you've done this before. How many of you listening brought work home with them? Okay? I've done it plenty of times because, especially the new job I'm doing, sometimes I have to take work home. Sometimes, not every night, but sometimes I had to take work home to finish something. And so, but I know it's there because then I bring it back to work the next day. So, for any person, and this is classified documents. They say, "Oh, well, what type of level is it as far as classification is concerned?" It's like, who cares? If it's classified, no matter what level, you know you have it. You know you brought it home. For me, I don't believe, you know, former President Trump, former Vice President Pence, there was classified documents found at one of his locations or whatever. President Biden, and probably counting. There's probably going to be more. Next is probably Kamala Harris. Next is going to be someone else. And maybe another former president. Maybe Clinton. I don't know. I'm sure the list is going to go on as time progresses. But I don't believe any of them that say, "Oh, I didn't know it was there." Or I think Karine Jean-Pierre said President Biden was surprised that it was there. No, I know he has to know that they were there. And I think the latest news was that even more documents were found, classified documents for President Biden. I don't know what former President Trump has said that he didn't know were there. I think his excuse was he knew they were there, but he had them, in a safe place in the closet was his excuse. But even then, why do you need to keep them? Just turn them in. That's why I said, oh, well, the presidency, the office of the president is different. No, it's a job. It's, one of the biggest jobs, I guess, in the world. But still, it's still a job. If you brought those home, you need to go take them back. I don't care, Democrat, Republican, I don't care. You know you took them, and this is my personal opinion, but you took them. You need to go take them back. Oh, well, I put them in a safe spot. Oh, well, I didn't know they were there. I was surprised. And then there's people on the other side saying that are for President Biden, saying, well, the difference is between Trump and Biden was, oh, he handed them over willingly. As soon as they were found, he turned them in. But it's like, again, I don't care about that. If they were turned in or not, why did you have them in the first place? Like, why didn't you turn them in? That's my critique. So how does that relate to the scripture I read? Because as a Christian, the idea or that theology of living above reproach, it's not an exact one thing. It's fluid. And I know that word is being used in a way that's not, it's being used too much and for used wrongly. But I think I'm using this in the right way, fluid. Because now this doesn't mean that as far as sin's concerned, like, how should I say this? I want to make sure I say this right. So let's just regulate it to the pastor. When I go to different churches, each church runs things differently, and each pastor runs things differently. One pastor does offering a certain way, and a pastor does something different for offering in another way. And you might say, how come they're not all doing it the same way? Because each church is different. Each congregation is different. Each city is different. Each state is different. And so when you go to a church, different churches, you're going to see things done differently. And it's because they run it according to what they're working with, the people they're working with, the location, everything. So there might be a church that is in the hood, and they have to, um, lock certain things up to show themselves that they want to be blameless, so they don't get accused. Um, it looks different from small churches to big churches. It just means living above reproach means something different in each church, and doesn't mean you do things unbiblical, but like I said, it people do things differently as long as it's not going against Scripture. So you don't want to say I'm living above reproach, but you're doing something that's going against the Bible. And so, well, how does this relate to the classified documents? It's if you're going to be the president of the United States, you need to make sure, especially with classified documents, you need to make sure, if anything, why have classified documents at houses? Like literally, if you want to look at classified documents, literally where they are, just go to that place, read what you need to read, put it back. I don't know. And now I can't say I know how it is to be president. I know that I can't just judge 100% and say, yeah, this is how exactly it looks. Obviously, I'm not that way. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm just saying common sense. Unless they can give an explanation why they need to take it home, maybe we'll get more information. But for now, since we don't have that information, my opinion is, why can't you read the classified documents, do what you need to do with them at the place they're supposed to be, at the building, wherever that is. Go to that building, open them up, read what you need to read, declassify what you're going to declassify, whatever, put them back, done. Like that way, both sides, former President Donald Trump and President Biden, Joe Biden, they can save themselves a lot of trouble by not taking them home. Just read them there. Because, and as a Christian, get this lesson. Like, wherever you are, you don't want to ever be in a situation where you're not going to look innocent or your reputation gets dragged through the mud because of doing something that makes you look not innocent or makes you look blameworthy. And so, for example, a common one that's been, taught basically maybe every church is, for example, if you're a pastor in a youth group, or a youth pastor in a youth group, never be alone, like as a male. Don't be alone with a young girl. I mean, one of the girls in the youth group. And then, if you're a woman youth pastor, vice versa. A boy youth by yourself. That's a rule I think every church does basically. But it's like, is it a sin if you're caught literally alone? Like literally, like for example, you're at the church, you're a male youth pastor, or even a pastor in general, and then an underage girl comes in, or one of the kids in the youth group, or youth in the youth group, and they walk in. Is that literally the sin that you're both in the same room alone? No. But it's better not to be in that situation because someone could literally think things and say, see, they slept together, or see, he's molesting, or see. Same goes like for offering. I think it's universal that when you do offering or tithes and doing the paperwork and whatever to, the necessary paperwork to record the offerings and tithes and whatnot, you don't want to do it alone. Because if you do it alone, is it a sin that you're holding the money and counting it by yourself? No. But someone can look at that and say, oh, because if $1 goes missing, they're automatically going to blame the person that's doing it by themselves. But when we do it with multiple people, then there's accountability. So the list can go on about how living above reproach looks. So that's why I criticize with the classified document story. It's like, again, you can save yourself a lot of trouble by trying to live above reproach. There's common sense. There should be people around both sides, President Trump and President Biden. There should be advisors going, you probably shouldn't take that home. And I hope that from this time going forward, that there's advisors for President Biden and the next president, whoever it is, that will tell them, don't take those home, please. Keep them here. So, anyways, I'll just leave it at that. The next one is, I'm not going to get into detail about all the shootings because I'm not going to give glory to the shooter or say, look what he did. You probably already know there's been some shootings that have been taking place lately. You can look them up. And our governor, Newsom, used it for his political agenda. I'm not afraid to say that because that's what he's doing. Like when there's shootings that take place, the last thing you do is say, see, that's why we need this policy. Either side, Republican or Democrat. When there's shootings, you shouldn't automatically go, all right, that's why we need this policy that's insensitive to the victims that were killed and then the families of those victims. What we need to be doing is praying and giving comfort to those that lost people, and that debate can be had later, is my criticism. But if you're a Christian and getting discouraged or even scared or depressed or whatever about these shootings, you don't need to worry about you or about your family. You know why? Because of Psalm 91. And I think I said this before, but I'm going to say it again because it needs to be said. Let me read the scripture. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Listen to this. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flies by day, nor for the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor for the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. So that is a comfort for me, meaning I know I don't have to be afraid because I know God's going to protect me. And so I want you to see this. Nor for the arrow that flies by day. So they didn't have guns back then. They had, bows and arrows and different weapons, swords, whatever. But so I'm not saying twist the scriptures or anything, but you don't have to be afraid of guns that are going off. You don't have to worry about that stuff because God's got you. It says in Psalm 91:10, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. So, you don't have to be afraid. God has got you. And if you're working at a school, your first thing that you should be thinking about before even thinking about a policy to promote is pray for the protection of the schools. If you're a Christian and you're there, you can pray for protection. Oh, but there's unbelievers. So why would God protect them? God told Abraham he was willing to spare a whole city if he found 50, 40, and so on, righteous people in Sodom and Gomorrah. God said he was going to spare the city if he found 50 righteous people. He didn't say that he would only spare cities with only 50 righteous people, and if there's any wicked, then he's going to destroy it. No. He said, in that city with wicked people. If there was 50 righteous people, he would spare the city, and I can't remember the exact verbiage. But he wouldn't destroy it. And this is Abraham praying for Lot. So if God's willing to keep a whole city, spare a city because there's righteous people in it, that means if you're there, there's one of two outcomes. One, he's going to make sure you're safe. Two, he's going to spare that area. So we need to be praying for both. That you're safe, you pray for yourself, obviously your family, but pray for the school that you have to work at and dwell at. That's what I'm going to do for my school. That my response isn't policy change right now. First, it's pray for God to protect your area and yourself. And if you believe and have faith, he will. If you believe and have faith, he will. But again, you have to believe. So don't get scared or depressed that more shootings are happening. Again, we can have a debate on what we should do as policy is concerned. But for right now, we need to pray because God can do a lot more than prayer and faith coupled together can do a lot more than debating online about what policy we should have or why someone's wrong about what policy they think should be instituted. Prayer and faith will do a lot more. And I believe if every Christian focused on that first before debating policy, then things would definitely change. But anyways, that'll be it for tonight. So I couldn't get that word for that definition. I'll have to put it on. I'll have to find it. But don't miss out on John's show, Epignosis, and Ryan's show, Do Tell. And just to give you the heads up, we are doing our T2 Mug Hour. T2 Mug Hour. And this Sunday. And it will be live. We're going to do Facebook Live, and then we'll have another camera so we can put it on YouTube and then put it on podcasts. So we'll announce the time on that for this Sunday. But anyways, God bless you, and I will see you next time.